All right, let's turn now to retired General Jack Keane for an analysis. General, always great to have you back. Welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Yeah, delighted to be here, Shannon, as always.
Okay, so what do you make of where we are in this relationship with China? Of course, they're going to come out of the meeting and give a readout that says they basically gave us what for, and that we're going to be responsible for all the fallout and the break in the relationship over the spy balloon. What do you make of that?
Well, I think, the spy balloon incident, certainly, I think it's a reminder to most and a wake-up call to some in terms of how serious China is as an adversary in seeking regional and global domination. The reality is that China entered 40 countries' airspace on 5 continents as a matter of routine. And it complements the huge surveillance program they've got going in the United States and the penetration of United States society on a level that this country has never seen. And add to that China's rapid military growth. Their nuclear program is exploding. This is a threat that's very, very serious. And we've got to make certain that we have a military deterrent to deal with that threat, which I believe has eroded significantly.
Yeah, and there was a report out just a few weeks ago from one think tank that went through all of this and said, basically, if we now get into an incursion with China over Taiwan, which there are predictions that that's going to happen sooner rather than later, we don't have the armaments, the military, the missiles, the things that we would need to actually handle a conflict like that. Is that your concern?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we have to move with a sense of urgency. When you just look at the numbers, China has more ships, more airplanes, more offensive, more defensive missiles than the United States has. And we are 2 weeks away by sailing to get to the region. So this is in their backyard, right off 100 miles off their coast. So yes, we need to return to the kind of effective deterrence we had with the Soviet Union and move with a sense of urgency to do that. And that is why I think the spy balloon, in a sense, can be a catalyst to galvanize what is really going on here. I think a lot of Americans were looking at a spy balloon and was looking at us and saying, what is going on here? And the answer is, this is a serious threat. And we've got to move in the right direction to protect ourselves.
You're one of the first people that I heard early on with this who said, we probably knew about this when it left mainland China, or we had an awareness before it showed up in Alaska. Did the administration miss an opportunity to take this thing out before it did go across the entire country?
Well, I think we were watching it when it took off on the 21st for most of the days leading up to it arriving in Alaska on the 28th. That's a full week. That's a good thing that we detected it. We missed 4 others, 1 in the Biden administration, 3 in the Trump administration. That really gives me a lot of concern. But the reality is, I think the average American looking at this, despite the administration saying, hey, look, we were able to defeat their electronic surveillance while the balloon was up over the United States. We learned a lot about them, and we recovered the payload, and we're going to learn even more. But let's face it. We don't shoot down a surveillance balloon when the mission is complete. We shoot it down before it starts. That has got to be the lesson learned. And I just wish the administration would be straight with the American people. They're not going to let this happen again. Tell the American people that's the major lesson learned.
Okay, so there's also this concern about China and the Russia no limits partnership that they have, and whether China is going to be, has been, or will be supplying Russia with some of the things it needs after being badly wounded and decimated in some respects 1 year into Ukraine, because they certainly thought this was going to be maybe like a 1-week operation. Where do you assess that we are and China's role in the Russia-Ukraine situation?
Well, certainly China has been buying as much Russian oil as they possibly can and helping them with the sanctions that are imposed on them. And I agree with the administration for beginning to expose what they have picked up, likely in intelligence circles, that China is getting ready to provide some military lethal aid to Russia. Remember, China has not condemned the invasion. They have not condemned that it's illegal. They have not come out and spoken against the genocide and war crimes that are being committed. And I think coming out and exposing, and I would go even further and tell them what we think they're attempting to provide, China will pull back likely after that public exposure. So yes, these are strategic partners. They have defined it as a limitless partnership, and we shouldn't be surprised that China wants Russia to succeed.
Where does the situation in Ukraine go from here?
Well, from here, Russia is the beginning stages of an offensive campaign. Elements of 4 divisions are participating in this. Mobilized forces are there. They're trying to take the rest of the Donbass region. 42% of it is still owned by Ukraine. We at the Institute for the Study of War have looked at this very closely. We believe Russia will fail in achieving this. They're going to take significant casualties. That will bring on an opportunity for Ukraine to conduct an offensive probably in the May-June timeframe. They've been handicapped by the administration. I disagree with Admiral Kirby about this. It's commendable what the administration has given to Ukraine, but they have done it piecemeal because they are overly concerned about the escalation of certain weapon systems, and Russia will retaliate with a nuclear attack. I mean, by now, after a year of providing all of these weapons piecemeal to Ukraine, I think we know that that policy is a mistake. Russia has not escalated, and they're not going to escalate. They're threatening the use of nuclear weapons because they want to spook us, to be sure, but they're not going to do it because that expands the war with NATO and the United States. They can't handle Ukraine, much less NATO. And it also gives Russia an authority they shouldn't have. The implication of veto over United States use of conventional weapons because they're threatening nuclear weapons. China's looking at that. Iran, who wants a nuclear weapon, is looking at that. We have got to give the Ukrainians what they need and give it to them when they need it. We assess at ISW that Ukraine can retake the territory that Russia took from them, to include Crimea, if they have the weapons and the timeliness of those weapons to do it.
We'll watch in the coming months. General, we always appreciate your insights. Thank you so much.
Great talking to you, Shannon.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.